Hi everyone, welcome back to my second channel. I actually want to look to see how long it has been since I have posted anything on my second channel. I think it's been a long time anyways. So, hello, welcome back. Okay, I'm trying to find it here. I can't even find my second channel. It has been that long. What was it called? More Adam McIntyre? I think it was called More Adam McIntyre. Oh, my last video was 4 months ago. Great. And it's called I Met Up With My Ex. Wow, that's crazy. That was me going to the Girls Aloud concert with the guy that I had seen for literally the shortest amount of time in Manchester. Thank you so much to everyone, by the way, who responded well to the podcast. And even if you just watched them and didn't even like them, any form of support on those was really amazing. And I was going through all my stuff, I'm kind of seeing if there's anything that inspired me to talk about. First of all, I find this Queen of Melrose promo, which I love. Basically, I find all my cue cards that I used for the podcast, like City of WeHo Proclamation, Styling Man as well, growing up in Harlem, New York, Queens, moving to LA, like this is the Queen of Melrose one. And yeah, I'm just super grateful that the podcasts happened, that people watched them, all the rest, that I was able to meet so many amazing creators. And it was so amazing because the episode with Neve, my best friend, I posted it, and me and Neve always wanted to film something like that, but the reason that we had never before was because we were like, well, no one will want this. And that was kind of her attitude when we went into filming the podcast together. She was like, why would you have me on? Like, you have all these guests. And I was like, no, like, even if people don't watch it, like, I would just love to have this experience with you, because it was kind of bringing her into my world, like this interview set up. And people liked it, they watched it, and I'm just really, really, really grateful for that. So I'm very happy about that, and I would love to film with her again. It was so nice, people being nice to her as well, and just really enjoying it. And yeah, there was a lot of stories in there that I wanted to cut out, but I just was like, fuck it. Like, we'll put everything out there and it'll be funny. And ultimately it was. So I was going through my room and cleaning some things up because I was just back in Ireland, which was great. Let me talk about that, actually. And then I'll get to the items. First of all, I find this one that I had bought in Japan. Little Hello Kitty. Little bear. I bought this in Nara. I think. In Nara, yeah. In the deer park in Tokyo, or in Japan. And I was going through and reminiscing about Japan. I have my lip balms that I bought in Japan. Hello Kitty. And my Melody. Love. Here's the problem, everyone. I remember this one was horrible. It smells very, very, very artificial, but it's very, very, very cute. Here's the problem. So I went with my brother and my friend to Japan. And when I went to Japan, I had a really great time. I even vlogged it. I went with my friend Aoife, who were childhood best friends, and she was out there studying and I came out and stuff. Here's the thing. I didn't enjoy it as much. Well, I didn't have any expectations, but I didn't enjoy it then as much as I would now. And the reason for that was because I did no research at all into the culture. Oh, hello. My camera keeps falling, so I think we've just got to exist in this format of where my head might be cut off. So I didn't really research Japan before I went for the first time. I was literally going for the purpose of meeting my friend, and she was going to show me around where she studied. And when I went out there, everything was very, shockingly different and stuff. And it was a culture shock, if I'm being honest. And because I felt so unfamiliar, because I had done zero research, my friend was literally just like bringing me around everywhere and showing me things in the moment. The reason that I really struggled out there was because it was such a big culture shock, and just I didn't feel familiar anywhere. And anyways, after that trip, I have nonstop been on rabbit holes about Japan, because in my last few days of that Japan trip, I started to, get fully accustomed, and I started to really enjoy the cities and the people and the culture, and I absolutely just adored how solo central it was. What is going on down here? Sorry, Bonnie's getting comfortable. I loved how it was so solo in restaurants and shopping, and little booths individually and stuff. Like I loved that, and then I started, getting more into the culture and stuff. I'm just doing a lot of research on different shrines and like being so fascinated about it, where I'm like, oh my god, I was there, and like why wasn't I more like locked in? And furthermore, it's so weird, but when I was in Japan, I started listening to K-pop again. Now I know that K-pop and J-pop are two different things, but K-pop is huge in Japan. So whenever I was in Japan, I was seeing all of the K-pop bands, K-pop soloists that I used to be such big fans of back in 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And then during the pandemic, I really stopped listening to K-pop, and I was always really in the fandoms and stuff, and I always would, be into the K-pop culture, but I completely dropped out of it in the pandemic. And when I went to Japan and saw all these familiar faces and, these artists that I really, really, really loved whenever I was growing up, I started just listening to all of them again. And then I started getting introduced to new K-pop bands in general and artists and blah, 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 blah. So I went to Japan and came back with my new obsession with K-pop, which surprisingly I didn't listen to J-pop when I was out there. So there's so many different places now I would like to go in Japan, because I'm back in my K-pop lore era where I want to go and see certain things. And also Japan is so much easier to travel to than Korea. I don't like doing connecting flights. If I'm on my own, I don't want to do it. So I can go straight to Japan. I cannot go straight to Korea. So anyways, let me take a sip. All that to be said, I was going through and reminiscing all the Japan stuff, because I don't know when, but I'm going to go back solo. I already have an itinerary planned, and I'm going to go for like 2 weeks. I would love to in January, right before I do the shows in February, but it might be too much of an overlap. And I might burn myself out before I do the shows, so I might not do that. So I might do it right after tour, but I'm very excited about that, because I feel like I'm just going to be mentally stimulated every single day, because there's just things that I want to go and research or explore or learn about. Anyways, I don't know why I got on that long tangent, but I went to Ireland. I got back 2 days ago. I have not been home in 11 months. It was the longest I'd ever gone. There was a time when I literally was living in Brighton, but I would need to go back to Derry maybe every 2 weeks. I could not be away from home. And then obviously life happens, you grow up, and it's very hard in some people's cases to get home. I have the 2 dogs I absolutely love, are completely sleeping right now. I'm trying not to call them their names because I don't want them to wake up. I love them, and they need to be looked after for me to go home, and I need to get on a flight, and then that's, paying, and who's going to look after my apartment, there's a lot that goes into it now, so I don't go home. And again, the last time I was home was Christmas, and the reason I'm able to do that is because the dogs go home for Christmas, and they stay in my family's house while I do my New York December trips, because I always see Mariah, which I am again this year, and I'm very, very, very excited. Oh my god! This is starting to feel really evil. I'm just not going to put my cup on the table, because I think that's what sets it off. So yeah, I'm going to see Mariah again in New York this December, which is very, very, very exciting. And anyways, whenever I was home, I really didn't know what to expect, because when you're gone so long in a small city, so much can change within that time. And boy, oh boy, it's crazy how many shops have shut down in Derry. It's crazy how many new ones are there, new small businesses, which is great to see. Whereas, other small businesses have shut down. Like, it's an ever-changing city. I feel like every time I go back, when it was even a couple of weeks, you would notice things different. So it was very much so almost like a culture shock going back home, because the entire city, town looked different. It was also Halloween. Halloween is a huge thing in Derry. So, it looked completely different just on the fact of it was catered towards, like tourists and stuff like that. But anyways, I went home because it was the only time of the year other than Christmas I was going to get to go home. I know it's only a couple weeks, but whatever. My friends were available to dog sit, and I, went to Gatwick. I flew to Belfast, and I went home with the aim of seeing my friends, seeing my family, seeing Derry again, and just kind of resetting from offline. So that's what I did. And it's crazy. So I had this like huge epiphany on the trip because I didn't even clock the fact that like within this time that I'm not going back to Ireland, like my grandparents are getting older. Like they are getting older the entire time that I'm seeing them. Like I look back at like last year and I realized that, for my age and for my health, typically, that's not something where you consider that to be a big jump, 20 to 21. But then I think about the fact that like my grandparents are in their like mid to late 80s, 90s, and I'm like, oh, so I go back to Ireland and I hang out with my nana and granda for the first time in a very, very, very long time, like literally probably 12 months. And wow, I noticed a huge difference in my grandparents. Like I noticed for the first time that they were old. And that sounds stupid, but I hadn't spoken to them one-on-one in almost a year or in a year, and I didn't realize that when you are that age, those year jumps are really significant. And my granddad was celebrating his birthday. Normally my granddad, and he's still a fantastic genius, but normally my granddad, would be a lot quicker with things and stuff. And he said to me this trip, he was like, I'm noticing, my mind going, I'm noticing, like my thinking going. And it made me really sad that like he was, in front of me basically confessing that like he's losing a lot of, his mental thinking or his speed and stuff. And it was a really humbling moment of like seeing my grandparents as, aging people. And I see this with my parents more so than I see it with my grandparents, which is weird. But I just realized on that trip that within that year that and I'm not going to get emotional over this, but within that year, how little I get to see them. And the next time I get to see them in a year's time and stuff, it's like, will there be an even bigger difference? And, yeah, the reality is starting to kick in, if I'm being honest, that my grandparents are not going to be around forever. And I think I significantly look at my life and I'm like, okay, in 10 years, I would be in my 30s. In 10 years, my nana and granda would be in their like 90s, late 90s. And we're all realistic around here and we know what happens. And I can't believe that for me to kind of, live my own life and do my own things, I have, I'm away from Derry. And I'm like, wow, I'm losing so much precious time with my nana and granda, but it is not practical, or could I feasibly be back home whenever I have all this going on? So yeah, that was a big moment on this trip, and I didn't expect it. I always come whenever I fly into Belfast and I go up to Derry. The first thing I will tell my mom and dad I want to do is go into Nana Granda's. So like literally on this trip, I landed back at the house, and maybe the next hour I had gone into my Nana Granda's for lunch. You know what I mean? They're always the number one thing on the trip before everything else can continue. So, yeah, that was it was humbling. Like it was a very humbling moment. And they recently lost their dog, Mac. He was a family gem, and they had him for like, I want to say over 10 years, maybe 15 years, 14 years. And he recently died. And it has just shattered them. And I think when you already see your grandparents as being frail, which they are, and them going on top of like a huge heartache, it stresses me out. And that's a very realistic conversation to have. And I feel like a lot of people, if they haven't had it, are having it. So yeah, that was a very, I would say it wasn't a low moment on the trip, but because it kind of has enforce something within me to kind of cherish, the time I have with them. But I don't know. It's very weird. It's very weird. But that was a big epiphany I had on the trip, if you will. And then I got to see my brother. My other one's still in Belfast, but I didn't get to see him. I'll see him at Christmas in like a couple of weeks. Got to see my mom and dad. I really kind of just see them throughout the year. Very iffy. I think I see my mom in summer, and then maybe I'll go home once in that year as well. So maybe I'll see my parents like twice a year, not including Christmas. So I don't see my family a lot either. Unless there's trips, if we're getting technical. So it was really great being back with them. Honestly, something as simple as like, on like the first day, my dad made me like our family chili recipe, and I have not had that in like maybe 2 years. And it just was very nostalgic. Going through all my old stuff, I went through a lot of my old stuff on this trip. Found journal entries that were incredibly embarrassing, but also made me kind of like awe at like what my problems used to be. What else? Then I went out with my friends. Always great to see them. Ellie and Joy. I ended up meeting a lot of people that I haven't seen in a long time at the bar on Halloween. But one thing that was really weird that kept happening I went out 2 nights on the trip. One of them was Halloween, so a big night. And like everyone in Derry goes to the same, like 3 bars. So I basically saw fucking everyone. This, guy comes up with his girlfriend. And, he's like, hey, like my girlfriend watches your videos. Like, wow. He was very, very, very nice. I'm talking to the girlfriend. She's incredibly sweet. Like so, so, so lovely. We have a nice interaction. The interaction ends, and I turn back to my friend, and the guy's like, I'm proper sorry that I used to bully you and stuff in the college. Sorry, I wasn't gonna say the name of the school, but that was the name of the school I went to, the college. He's like, I'm proper sorry that I treat you like that. I was going through my own fucking things, and he literally, to quote him, he was like, I was fat, so I was bullied. So, I just, it wouldn't be me that'd be making fun of you, but I just never say anything to, like, defend you and stuff. And I'm like, hold on. I do not know who you are. Like, literally, like, gun to my head, do not know, like, could not name this person. So I'm like, okay, now you've just made me hate you. And I literally, if you had not told me this, I would not have known who you were. And I'm like, number 2, that's a mucker beside you. Like, your girlfriend came up because she was a mucker, which was lovely and love her. But I'm like, you've now just made this interaction for her awkward as well, including for me. Like, I'm like, what was the productive in saying that? Like, if you thought that I was holding a grudge against you or was so upset and that was the first thing I thought when I saw you, like, we could have played it off and not brought, like, the sweet mucker into it. But then I have me being like, oh, okay, to him. And he goes, and my friend goes, hey, I'm so sorry, but I don't see Adam that much. Like, if we could just, like, have a moment. Because, like, he was overstaying his welcome by telling me that his friends used to bully me. And so, anyways, he goes, oh, and she goes, my friend goes, well, I'm not going to tell you to fuck off. And he starts to say something, and I go, well, I am. Fuck off. So sorry to the mucker out there whose boyfriend I shouted at and told them to fuck off. Sorry about that, but still love you, diva. So I want to make sure I'm still recording, because that would be really unfortunate if I'm not recording. Oh, I am. This is brilliant. So anyways, I really just don't know why he decided to make that awkward. He really just, there was for no reason. Anyways, there was a lot of muckers at the fucking bar, and I was so surprised. Americans are all in Derry right now for Halloween, and I was like, there was like a lot of them suspiciously for like what a normal night out would be in Derry. Maybe I'd get one person who would like know one of my cousins or something, like, but this is like people from the videos. And then I clocked it. There were so many people from New York and California there. Hey, also, two girls were so sweet from Chicago. And I went, are you coming to the Chicago show? They said no. So I educated them on a show, but it would have been great if they said yeah. What a coincidence that would have been. Derry Halloween was very fun. I missed Brighton Halloween. All my friends went out, but I honestly didn't really care because I had a really bad hangover the day that I left for Derry, so I wasn't even getting that drunk on Halloween because I was still dealing with a 2-day hangover. That was one of my worst, I will say. One of my worst. But anyways, I was sitting here and I was just kind of thinking and blah, 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 blah. I was thinking about the Neve podcast I did. And in it, I talk about, that I'm not a good dater. And the response was so overwhelmingly sweet and kind. Oh, Bonnie is letting out a big sigh. Clearly, it's been a hard day. So, my nose is so blocked. Oh my god. I smoked so much before this. So, anyways. So, here's the thing. I didn't know how it was going to be responded to whenever I was literally, saying that I can't date anyone casually. Like, I literally think I'm insane. I get so attached. I don't want to be in part of hookup culture, I can't do it. You can watch the episode if you want to get into specifics. And my friend was telling stories on 2 occasions where I literally acted crazy because I was in lust. And one of them being bringing a guy to Paris, paying for the most expensive trip in the entire world. I want to literally kill myself thinking about the fact I did that. Us staying in like a 5-star hotel suite, a room I'd never stayed in that big before, and like every night just drinking champagne, and just a lot of money for no reason. And then I think of another example where I was having full-on breakdowns to my friends over one guy for the longest time period ever. There were 2 very different stories. They're in the podcast. And we talked about what we were going to talk about in the podcast before it. And she was like asking if she could say them. And I was like, yeah, like we'll laugh at it. Like it'll be funny. People will like call me crazy at worst. And we'll have a giggle about it. And so we went into this knowing that the feedback was probably going to be people like, haha, but like, haha, because Adam's crazy. And then the feedback was so overwhelming of people, I don't want to say sympathizing, but people like identifying with what I was saying in terms of dating. And so many people saying like, oh my god, you saying this has made me realize that like I'm not, and this sounds so cringy, but like I'm not the outsider, I'm not the weird one or whatever like that, just because I can't casually date in terms of I'm not gonna, I can't not get attached to someone if I'm involved in hookup culture or situationship culture. And, I just want to say a huge thank you to people, like I said at the start, for watching the podcast, but like engaging in what I was saying, because I've literally been living in the comment sections of all of them, just like snipping since they've been posted, and just like having the conversations in LA with the people, and then having a comment section. It just feels like an audience of people like getting together and like saying their thoughts to each other, even though it's literally just kind of been saying at me or said at me. But they've been really, really, really great. And I was talking to my friends earlier today. I went for wine with my friends Hannah and Miranda, and both of them, one of them is in a relationship now, my friend Miranda, and she is not the really relationship-y person. So that was a big shock to all of us, and we're super happy for her. And her boyfriend, I love. And Hannah is like dating someone as well now. And it was normally me, Miranda, and Hannah. The like 3 losers that could never, go on dates or whatever. Could never, what would we say? Like hold someone down for like 3 dates or something like that. Like never have what the other people in our group had, because we have this big friend group, and most of them are in relationships, and again it was always us 3 that never were, and And with both of them in relationships, in some capacity right now, when I met up with them today, I was like, oh my God, I have no stories for you anymore. Because normally I've always been in a bad situationship where I've been going crazy over someone, and we would always have these stories to bat off each other. And I was like, oh my God, they're both, in happy relationships. And I literally have nothing going on because I've cut myself off from the idea of dating someone. And the reason mainly for that is because I have so much to focus on right now. Like, I need to focus on things. And if I get up in that again, it'll be my fixation. I can't do it. But then I'm like, oh my God, this is not normal. But then I was reading the comments and people were like, no, I literally feel the same way, that like, how fast is too fast, how slow is too slow. If it's the right person, it's the right thing, but then you'll never find the right person. Should you be on dating apps? If you're on dating apps, are you always the second best? Like, people's comments were so amazing on this, and it validated me so much. But I will say tonight, whenever I met up with them, I was like, wow, I really feel annoyed at the fact that, like, I don't have fun stories anymore. Or, people say they love texting people romantically. That is, oh, please. I have never texted someone romantically where I've not been anxious the entire time. So I have not experienced that, like, loved up, I have never experienced that. But I was thinking about moving forward, like, how I feel in terms of dating, and I have re-downloaded Tinder. I'm back on Tinder, but I'm doing it very differently. I'm doing it very differently because I'm not using it as a how quick can I get dates. Instead, I'm like, okay, we're gonna take this slow, maybe use it like once a week and see if there's any matches, whatever. Whereas I was like religiously on Tinder last year, the year before, trying to get dates, and I was never successful. So I was like, let's take it slow. So I did that. And my main thing is, like, I need to meet someone organically because, these setup Instagram DMs, Tinder bullshit, like, I cannot do it at its fundamental core. So we'll see how that goes. If I start acting a little bit crazy, guys, it means that I've gone on a date with someone and I'm now the worst person you've ever met. So anyways, that's everything that has been going on in that. But again, the comments were really great, and it was just like a really nice, validating feeling because it's something that I'm always really harsh on myself for. So thank you everyone for that. Also, really randomly, but talking about skill, like that guy who was, my skill, I had my old skill, the one I was talking about, pop up on my Facebook page. And I don't know why, but like, it was on there for some reason, like the skills Facebook page, and they were posting about like a student winning an award. Again, don't know why it was suggested to me, probably because there's not much going on in Derry, and they're like, you're from Derry, here's the skill. So I clicked on the post, and then I found myself scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling through my old skills Facebook. And I could not stop. It was so fascinating to me because it was bringing back so many memories. There would be photos of like a French teacher teaching a class, or there would be like home ec where you're making the same fucking things that we made, like 6 years ago. And I was finding myself like scrolling and like seeing myself as the student again, like, and in that uniform and like in those photos, because, I would be on the school Facebook in that same thing in those photos a couple years ago, and it was almost like I was seeing myself in these photos and seeing, the people that were in my class in these photos. It felt like a time capsule, even though it wasn't of me. And I thought back on, I started really feeling quite strongly how, what would it feel like to be back there right now? What would it feel like to be back in Derry and my mum is waking me up at 7 a.m. and I'm getting the bus to school at 8 a.m. Classes start at 9 and you're in class from 9 until 4:30 or 5. Oh, that's wrong. 3:30, 4. And I was thinking that while in many ways my life would be so much easier, I wouldn't have, how to figure out how to do tax, apartment bills, you know, vet bills, health bills, traveling, like, to see family. Like, there's none of that would be in my life. And actually, the main things I would have to focus on were, like, doing my homework and, like, showing up to class, which I couldn't even do. I literally could do neither of those things. And I was like, wow, I wouldn't fucking trade it for the world. Like, these people who are like, your school days were the best days of your life. I also think it's very dangerous to tell people that when they're in school, because a majority of people that are in school are suicidal. So if you're literally telling them this is the best it gets, it's not a great look. Just a thought. Because I would have people say to me, and I'm like, if this is the best it gets, like, I will. So I think back on it and I'm like, oh, I was miserable. My friends were miserable. Everyone in my class was miserable. The way that guy said to me, I made fun of you, or my friends made fun of you, you know, it was because we were so insecure. I'm like, yeah. We were all so insecure. We were all so just, no. I would never want to go back to that time period. And I was thinking about what a class reunion would look like. I ran into a couple people from my old school in the time I was in Derry. Some I like and some I don't like. And one of them brought up the concept of what would a school reunion look like now. And I was like, that's an interesting thought. So I went to an all-boys school, all-boys Catholic school, and there was about 30 people in my form class, which is like your main class, right? 20 to 30. You know, there's some that have children now. You know, there's some that have aged better than others. We'll say that. Some have gone down really, you know, bad paths in whatever way that may mean. Some of them are, you know, living with their family. Some are in college still, taking on like a master's or something. You know, some are living in different countries, different cities. Some people haven't seen each other since they were in college. Some are now gay. Congratulations, boys. You finally came out. No joke. In my fucking class, those motherfuckers in that class would send me fucking dick pics. Literally after class. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about that time period. Oh my god. Literally, and this is, oh my fucking god. This is why I wouldn't go back to this. You would go into school the entire fucking day, dude, and you would be called the F slur. You would literally get so isolated and made fun of for being gay. Rocks thrown at you, motherfuckers. Yogurt thrown at you when you're in the bus, and then you have to, and you go into school and you're all fucking covered in, you know, it's stupid fucking bullshit petty things, right? AIDS rumors. Literally cuts off male friendship because they'll assume that you just are trying to like prey on them. Those people in my class who were doing that shit were at 11 p.m. or something like that, literally sending me a one-sided, where it's just a one-sided thing from them, like dick pic. And then they would unadd me. And then try to add me again in the morning. Like, you have no idea how much this fucking happened. And we, you know, when we were all in school, and I've heard so many people have told me the same story, and it's just so ironic to me that so many of these motherfuckers who made my life hell and were so fucking homophobic to me and just spread the worst shit for the sake of being gay, I'm like, are gay now. Congratulations, boys. I'm happy for you. Finally. Or aren't gay and are still those same pieces of shit. Would I go back to my school days? They were the worst fucking years of my life. I've had a lot of stressful times in my life. Nothing compared to the genuine agony I felt every single day in an all-boys Catholic school. So when I go home and people come up to me and they're like, I'm sorry that my friends made fun of you, or, I'm sorry that I made fun of you. I'm like, fuck you. Like, I'm not a forgiving person. I've told you this. I hold a grudge. I do not forgive. And you know what? People go, oh, it lies on you if you don't forgive. I don't give a fuck. I'll hold on to that then. If that lowers me down, it can fucking lower me down. I will hold a grudge. Time does not heal for me. No, it doesn't. Time makes me hate you more. So when people come up to me and this is the conversation and it's all a joke to them or whatever, I'm like, I may not know your name, may not remember your face, may very vividly remember what you've done to me, but over this time, my grudge has grown. Over this time, my grudge has grown. And I hope I don't sound like a bitch by saying, I will hold on to a grudge and I feel power in that, because I think we tend to romanticize or forget the longer things are. But if I mentally put myself in the mindset of being at school, I would know exactly what I would be anticipating would happen to me that day from these people. And no protection from the school government, school guidance or anything. They don't give a fuck. And by the way, this is not an isolated thing. So many people for so many different reasons face this. But it just is crazy to me when people want to rewrite history or suddenly you're interested in me. Why would that be? Why would that be? What was the big jump between me being 16 years old and 21 that really things have... I'm 22. Am I 22? I'm 22. Wow, it's the first time I said that out loud. Happy birthday. No. So, what would a class reunion look like for me? I wouldn't go. I hate you people. I don't like one of you people. There's not, well, before I say that, no, I don't care for any of you. In my core class, no. No. There's other people I knew in school that were in different classes to me. I like them still. I really like some of them. Some of them are still my good friends. But as for my class and stuff, wrong answer. I love holding a grudge. I genuinely do love holding a grudge. It makes me feel power in defending myself and remembering what you did. If I went back in time and told 16-year-old Adam that I wasn't going to hold a grudge against the person who's doing that to him, I would beat the shit out of myself. I would be so pissed off. I'd be like, what the fuck am I going through this then? What, to forgive and forget? No! Hold a grudge. Normalize it. Literally normalize it. Yeah, it's funny. Yes, diva. Here's the thing. I don't hold grudges against that many people personally. I don't think I hold a grudge against that many people in my personal life. But there's genres of, people of a time period of my life. And the main one I can think of is the genre of boys that I went to school with. And I lump them all in the same. There is no tier system. They are all one and the same. And I hold a grudge against all of them. I actually am a loving person, but I'm a loving person because I choose who I want to be around. And I can't with bullshit. And I also can't with bad people. I do believe there are bad people. I believe there are bad people. And I believe that there's bad people in people's life, everyone's life, and only other people can see it. Because people have only seen it for people that have been in my life and I haven't seen it, and I've only seen it for people in their life and they haven't seen it. So I think that's very important as well. I do believe there's bad people out there, and I believe there's people that should not be in your life. And I also think the sentiment of like, you've invested so much time into a friendship or relationship or partnership or family or anything, it would be a waste to throw that away, even though this is abusive. Focus on the time you'll have rather than the time you spent on it. I'm a firm believer in not that. Anyways, I will leave it there. I have no idea what the fuck I talked about, if I'm being honest with you. But, I will leave it there. I hope you're all doing very well. Let me know down below if you like these little sit-downs. I ordered a new camera, which I'm excited for. It's coming later today, which will be great for vlogging. But only people like, because I haven't been posting on this channel in a long time. I'm going to say goodbye to you. I'm going to make myself a green tea, then I'm going to go to bed. Goodbye.